Dude, these guys do crazy damage. Holy hell. You can get Eve's blue diving suit? No, I haven't gotten any suits. Oh, I'm just back up here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, where do I go to get it? Hang on, let me post up so that way you can tell me where it is and I'm gonna have some idea. Two drone targets. Can I see them from where I'm at? Look up and around. Unless they're further on, I don't see them. Unless I have to go further back. Because I don't see any drones. Go back near the buildings at the start. Okay. Ah, right there. Yep, definitely missed that. So there's got to be another one, right? Because I can't reach that rope. Oh, right there. Sweet. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely would have missed that. Blue diving suit is the one Eve's wearing the very first combat reveal trailer. Oh, geez, I don't remember that.
There's a lot of them in this area. 6 in all.
Oh, I see a blue thing. Alright, let's rest up. 6 cocoons? God dang. Okay, so before we go that way, let's go this way.
You'd better make good use of the scan.
Why? For that crate that's right there in the open, Adam? Is that what you mean? Eve? This missable map is a good test for the difficulty through the remainder of the game. Wait, how is this one missable? You cannot do this map? Oh, is it like if you don't do a side quest? If you don't do enough side quests, then the Liz meter will be low. Oh, okay. Well, then I have to kind of take back a little bit about what I said before. About how I was like, why would you tell me, like, once I go here, there's no turning back, and then just bring me to somewhere completely different. But if it's a missable area, then I guess I understand. I would think there would be a check, though. Right? Like, if you have this available before you hit accept, there would be some kind of check to be like, oh, you have this area, so you're going to go here first before you go to space.
Enemies are grouped together. To get out won't be easy.
We should be fine. Don't worry.
Do I get more viewers on Twitch? No, definitely. YouTube definitely, just because I have a... Well, technically speaking, I have a bigger audience on YouTube, but in all fairness, my audience doesn't really exist that much. So my channel has... It's been through the ringer. I've done a whole bunch of different stuff. Like, my channel technically started as a gacha channel, like, you know, like 4 or 5 years ago now. And then I kind of rebooted it a year ago doing roguelike content. And now the past couple months, I've kind of just been playing a lot of, like, you know, single player, like, story narrative stuff. So, kind of doing, like, a hard reset. But, that being said, because, you know, there's still more... Well, for 2 reasons. One, YouTube will actually push a stream, whereas Twitch won't, unless you're on the front page. But even for the people who don't, like, typically watch, like, narrative stuff, or, you know, like, new releases, you know, if I come across their page and, like, they're subscribed from several years ago, they may pop in and just look at what I'm doing or something. But yeah, my channel's definitely been going through the ringer. At this point, I'm just not worried too much about it. I'm just playing the games that I want to play and going from there. Follow the yellow paint. Man, I wouldn't know that I have to jump over this building. That's crazy. Except that Eve just falls down it. So I'm assuming that if I keep going down, that's probably going to bring me to the next area. So I probably need to do this cocoon first. Yeah, they were just, you know, there were a lot of different, like, decision points that pulled me in different directions. So, you know, I did the roguelikes, the roguelike content for like a year, covering a bunch, like, new games, demos, and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up playing a game called Crawl Tactics, which was a roguelite, but it was a strategy RPG, or, yeah, technically it was a strategy RPG, no, it was a tactics RPG roguelite. And then from there, I wanted to play more games like Fire Emblem, so I played a couple other, I played Those Who Rule, which was a more hex-based, Fire Emblem style game. I then went into like Dark Deity 2 and was like, oh, I'm gonna play a bunch of, like, you know, Fire Emblem games. I'm gonna be like more of a strategy RPG like Fire Emblem channel. And well, rip. Literally had it all planned out. We were gonna do, I was gonna play through all the Fire Emblem games. Okay, so I guess I do need to go down. I was like 3 episodes into Fire Emblem Awakening. And then what game came out? I think I was playing Expedition 33. I think. And it was just one of those things where I was like, I'm having too much fun playing this game. I just want to play Expedition 33 more and more. And so Fire Emblem Awakening kind of went on the sideline. And to be honest, so Fire Emblem Awakening had... I don't think Fire Emblem Awakening is a great game for new players. Or not even necessarily new player. Like... So the issue with Fire Emblem Awakening, it's got kind of a... like a paradoxical play style to it. So... Fire Emblem traditionally I really like, because I grew up with Pokemon, right? So I like having characters that I can choose to like be my core team and level them up and get them stronger and all of that. The problem with Fire Emblem Awakening was that they have like a marriage and child mechanic. So like halfway through the game, characters, so a male and female character who have the highest like bond to each other, they will basically have a kid, and that kid will join you through like time travel elements and stuff. And that kid will get like the averages of the parents' stats, as well as any passive abilities that the parents have. And the problem with that was that if you don't know any of the characters in the game, you don't know how they level up or what passives you get or what classes you should put them in for their children. Or even worse than that, if you don't know the mechanic exists, you can't really plan around it. And so what was happening is that the people who were watching me play that game were telling me to do all this stuff that really I think would only make sense if it's your second playthrough, because you've been through the mechanics, you know, like how the characters level up, you know what classes are good on them and all that kind of stuff. You already know the mechanics, so you have a better understanding of what mechanics you can then pass down to the children. And without that, I was just kind of like, I guess overwhelmed is the word, but it was one of those things where, like, I just wanted to play the game and have fun with it. But a lot of people, because the game's been out for so long, you know, a lot of people were like trying to min-max it. And I was like, this is just not fun, because if it's not like the optimal thing, then it's not going to be great. And so I just didn't care to continue on with it. It's a really, really strange mechanic for your first playthrough. And they don't even warn you that it's necessarily coming. That was the other thing, is that I knew about it because I had seen some stuff about the game in advance. But if I didn't know about the mechanic, there's no way that I could have played around it. Because by the time, like, once you find out the mechanics in the game, it's already too late, and the choices that you've made are just going to lock you in. Which Fire Emblem should someone start with? I honestly have no idea. The only ones that I've played Fire Emblem 7, and I've played Three Houses. And from what I've heard, Three Houses is a pretty decent starting point. It's definitely... Hang on. There we go. Three Houses is definitely more of a departure from your, like, traditional Fire Emblem. It's because it has a lot more of, like, the Persona style, like, relationship stuff. And so if you're not if you don't really want that in your Fire Emblem game, it's like that's probably half the time you spend in the game is like leveling up relationship statuses with characters, you know, specifically training, like doing, okay, we can only do like 3 training sessions this week. Who am I going to focus on? That kind of stuff, that micromanaging stuff. But in general, it's from what I understand, it's a pretty good one to get into. I've heard mixed I've heard the DS ones are good, but it's got a lot of those, like, micromanagey things where you kind of need to play the game once to understand everything, and then to do it properly, you need to go back and do it again. I think, honestly, probably, if I had to guess, the best way to get, like, the essence of what a Fire Emblem game is probably to play the original GBA, or I say original, but the GBA games. So probably going and playing either Sacred Stones. I've heard Sacred Stones is people's favorite on the Game Boy Advance, which I think is is 8. Fire Emblem 8. Oh, sick. Found a new costume. I love Final Fantasy 8, but I didn't understand the combat and junction, so after playing many hours, yeah. I only play I always get the names swapped. I don't know why. I think it's just the FE and FF. I only played Final Fantasy 8 on one of those old Pizza Hut demos. The old demo discs. Is there something actually down there? Oh, there's definitely something here. And then most of my Final Fantasy knowledge comes from the newer games, which it's such a bummer that they didn't do, you know, turn-based for the Fire Emblem 7 remakes. I don't know why. Well, that's not true. I know why they did it. I was gonna say, I don't know why they went to action combat, but it's because stupid executives told developers, oh, nobody's gonna buy a turn-based game. Nobody's gonna buy a turn-based game. Oh yeah? What do you think about Expedition 33? Dickheads. People fucking love it. But you know why they love it? Because they took the time to figure out what they needed to do. Brother, these things hit so freaking hard. They took the time to figure out, okay, how do we evolve turn-based combat into something that people who don't typically like turn-based games, how do we evolve it to get it so that they do like it? Now, if I'm being honest, me personally, I prefer turn-based games without the parry system. Because, to me, like, I loved Expedition 33. Don't get me wrong. Really like that game. But for me, I like having the strategy of being like, okay, I know that this boss is going to do something in 3 turns. I need to prepare for that. And not, okay, I need to do as much damage as possible because if I somehow survive, then I might be able to get one more hit on him. You know? But to me, as far as Expedition 33 was concerned, I felt that the character builds were lacking a little bit. Because what it kind of felt like happened was that it kind of made it so that every build was just a DPS build. And you didn't really have like your, okay, this is going to be like my buff build. This is going to be my healing build. Like, it kind of took that away. You didn't really need that. Because, like, if you played, let's say you played a healer, like a healer CL. Could she even heal? I know Luna could heal. So let's say you play like a healer Luna. The problem is, if you play technically perfectly and you parry everything, well, then you're just never going to take damage. And so then why do you need a healer on your team? But if you make a turn-based game where you are going to get hit, then you're going to have to play it in a way where you have a healer. Or you have, like, a, you know, a shielding character, right? Something where she's going, like, something where the character is going to be buffing up your units and giving you more defenses. But there was no... that's the thing that I didn't really like about the parry system, is it kind of took away the need for that.
We found it! A cocoon!
Let's get rid of it quickly.
Watch out! There's a lot of them!
Well, my hope with the Final Fantasy IP is that they see the success of Expedition 33, and somebody with some sense goes, hey, you know what? Maybe now's the time that we can return to what the series was. You know, and they see that people, like, there is a need in the market for you know, an IP that is willing to play some turn-based combat, because there's really not that much unless you start going into indie stuff.
There's a path leading to the atelier on the side of the building.
Okay. It will be best to make your way to the tracks first.
Because for me, like, the action combat of the remake and rebirth, like, I plan on going back and playing it, but it doesn't excite me as much as, like, an actual Final Fantasy VII remake does. Because, like, I know, look, I know it's shallow, but at this point, like, I haven't played Final Fantasy VII, right? I have a friend who's obsessed with it. But if I'm being honest, the game is ugly. You know, it obviously does not even come close to the graphics of today. I'm not saying that makes a game good or not, but it's just kind of one of those things. And besides just the looks of the game, you know, there's probably a lot of just standard practice stuff that kind of comes as commonplace now that just wasn't commonplace back then when the game came out. And so it would be nice to have a remake that has more standardized practices in the development of, or in the, like, style of the game, so that I could play it with more of today's standards. But then they went the whole, like, action route, and
having a hard time because of this junk. If we were in one of the latest dropships, we would have gone right through.
I've seen dropships fall before.
I'm out of Final Fantasy VII, but after completing, I went back to the original visuals. I don't care if the visuals are dated. Yes, see, that's the thing. Some people don't care if the visuals are dated. I think if I just jumped into it, I could probably get past the visuals. But again, it's more so about just, like, you know, like, there are things like UI design, practices of, like, you know, I'm trying to think of, like, a decent example. I don't know. There's different practices. Well, I guess, okay, so the example here doesn't really work, but it kind of gives a rough idea of what I mean. So, kind of like how back when, you know, the dual Joy-Cons first came out, like, I remember when I was playing PlayStation 1, the first PlayStation 1 controller that I ever had did not have Joy-Cons. It was the same controller, just no Joy-Cons. And so in order to turn your camera, you had to use L and RB. And that is obnoxious. That, like for example, if I were to go back, like, I couldn't go back and play, like Tomb Raider, for example. Because that control scheme is just so bad. But the thing is, they hadn't played with, you know, they hadn't developed it with that in mind. So, because of that, eventually games started having Joy-Con support, and you did actually have to get a PlayStation 1 controller with Joy-Cons. But for a while, you didn't have to. Yeah, PlayStation 1 didn't drop with thumbsticks. It was all just D-pad controls. Even though the Nintendo 64 had a Joy-Con. It had a single thumbstick. But yeah, like, tank controls were awful. But that's just what you had to do. Because you didn't have your right thumb to do anything.
Just how long it takes.
So they're like, oh, well, we'll just put it on the bumpers.
Lily, why did you choose to live hidden in a place like this?
This area used to be almost free of natives. See, back then, they didn't like water. But I think they've evolved now.
At this point, it wouldn't be strange for natives to live underwater.
Let's get back on the road.